Radio 470 AM. It is game day, people.
Welcome to the most talked about game in the state of Texas.
I'm already sweating like a whore in church.
We're going to play fast. We're going to take what we can get, gentlemen. Do you understand me? Let's show them what we got.
You ready for this?
And here we go, folks. Smash!
Oh, this kid can move.
This is not just some game. You realize that. This is about tradition. It's about the spirit and keeping this town alive. That's football. That's all we got.
It's going down tonight.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Sunday Drive. I'm Jim Baxter from SCVARSITY.COM and bringing you the action from this past weekend. Week 2 of the South Carolina high school football season is in the books and had a lot of good action this weekend, and we're going to go over some of that. First thing I'm going to start off with is the scores. From the Midlands area, Abbeville hosted Newberry from the Midlands and shut them down 35-6. I don't think I've seen, last year Newberry went up to Abbeville and it was a 49-0 game, and Newberry came back, regrouped, and had a respectable season. But this Newberry team's not the same Newberry team that we saw when Phil Strickland first got there from Gaffney. AC Flora beats a very good Union County team 40-21. This is a signature win. This is a very good football team they beat, a team that was in contention for an upper state title last year in the Class 3A, and a solid win for AC Flora. Brooklyn Casey holds off Airport 35-32. That game was really good and tight in the fourth quarter, but Brooklyn Casey ends up holding them off at the end. Calhoun County shuts out Pelion 27-0. Camden 33, Lugoff Elgin 20, Cardinal Newman 28, Porter-Gaud 14. That was an upset. Carolina Forest 41, Lower Richland 6, Chapin 35, Mid-Carolina, that is 20. Dutch Fork 46, Spring Valley nothing, Hunter Kiner Tyler 27, Eau Claire nothing, Fairfield Central 18, Lancaster 9, Gilbert 52, Batesburg Leesville 35. Batesburg Leesville put up a good fight in that game. Gray Collegiate 63, Swansea 12. Hammond 42, Ben Lippen 7, Heathwood Hall 10, Wilson Hall 7. Irmo got their first win under Coach Aaron Brand 43-7 over Keenan. Louisville knocks off C.A. Johnson 44-35. Lexington shuts out Dreer 41-0. North Central 37, Columbia 20. Ridgeview 12, Wayne Hills, New Jersey 0. River Bluff 55, Richland Northeast 6. Saluda 41, Ridge Spring Minetta 6. Sumter 63, Crestwood 2. Westwood 14, Blythewood 7. And White Knoll goes down to the Low Country and beats Colleton County 56-21. Some of the top performers from around the Midlands Friday night. Matt Pack from AC Flora, running back, rushed for 226 yards and 4 touchdowns and passed for a 5th touchdown in their win over Union County. Willis Lane, running back, Camden, rushed for 204 yards in their win over Lugoff Elgin. That was his second week in a row with a 200-yard game. Hunter Helms, quarterback from Gray, passed for more than 400 yards for the second week in a row. I think it was 402 yards. Scored 6 touchdowns, 6 touchdown passes in their win over Swansea. That's a school record. That's Hunter Helms, as I said, his second consecutive 400-yard game in this season. Jai Tolan from Gilbert, quarterback, passed for more than 300 yards in their win over Batesburg Leesville. Roger Padroni, from quarterback from Chapin, was 23 of 30 for 271 yards in the air, ran for 82 yards and a total of 4 touchdowns in their win over Mid-Carolina. Avion Smith, quarterback from White Knoll, had 321 yards of offense, 5 touchdowns in their win over Colleton County. Jafari Pearson, quarterback Camden, 156 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in their win over Lugoff. Leroy Isaac, linebacker, Westwood, they got a big win over Blythewood. And Leroy Isaac had a fumble recovery for a touchdown and 2 sacks in that win. Ty Olenchuk, quarterback from Dutch Fork, getting it done, threw for 212 yards and a touchdown pass to Jalen Hyatt in their win over Spring Valley. Marvin Gant, running back from Batesburg Leesville, rushed for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns in their loss to Gilbert. Trey Robinson, quarterback from Batesburg Leesville, threw for 212 yards and 3 touchdowns in that loss. Braden Walker, running back, River Bluff, rushed for 84 yards and 3 touchdowns in their win over Richland Northeast. Jackson Stone, quarterback of River Bluff, who stepped in week 1 when their starter went down to injury. He rushed for 2 touchdowns. He's playing good football and filling in nicely over at River Bluff. Elijah Ogden, for quarterback for Lexington, rushed for 2 touchdowns and passed for a 3rd touchdown in their win over Dreer, 41-0 over Dreer. Taylor Mathias, running back at Lexington, rushed for 159 yards and 1 touchdown. Terrell Coleman, running back AC Flora, rushed for 132 yards and 1 touchdown in their win over Union County. So 2 running backs for AC Flora, over 100 yards in that game. Jackson Muschamp, quarterback for Hammond, passed for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns in their win over Ben Lippen. Andre Wilson, wide receiver from Hammond, had 190 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in that win. Odie Dawson, wide receiver from Gray, 194 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, and had a kick return for a touchdown as well. Jake Cowan, quarterback for Cardinal Newman, passed for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns in their win over Porter Goud. 2 weeks in a row that Jake Cowan has had a nice game for the Cards. Noah Bell, quarterback Saluda, passed for 223 yards and 6 touchdowns, a school record for Saluda, and as they beat Ridge Spring Minetta. Nicholas Gilliam, running back Westwood, rushed for 119 yards and 1 touchdown in their win over Blythewood. Josh Strickland, quarterback for Blythewood, passed for 148 yards and 1 touchdown in their loss. And Anthony Lyles, wide receiver for Camden, 5 receptions, 101 yards, and 3 touchdowns in their win over Lugoff Elgin. So week 2 in the books. We're heading into week 3, and it's hard to, the smoke's still there. We can still see smoke. We don't have a great picture of what's going to happen once region play starts. But after 2 weeks, we get a slight glimpse of how things could possibly shape up, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, starting with the Region 4 5A. Region 4's got Sumter in the driver's seat, and I think that's where they're going to stay. No one in this region has shown anything in the first 2 weeks that would make me believe that they have a shot at knocking off the Gamecocks. Quarterback Hayden Vasquez is playing very well right now. He's got weapons all over the field. He's got 2 Division I wide receivers in Tony Dinkins McCall and Tylee Kraft. Defensively, they're loaded. They're loaded on the defensive front. They're loaded at linebacker. One linebacker has really caught my eye is Dante Coleman for Sumter. I thought Blythewood was going to be a team that could challenge them, and they just have not really shown anything in the first 2 weeks. I mean, they got a win over Ridgeview in week 1, but it wasn't a overpowering win. And then they lose this past week 14-7 to Westwood, and they're just not generating any offense. Their leading rusher from last year's playing linebacker. He didn't get a touch on the ball this past week. And so Blythewood's going to have to get something going on offense if they're going to challenge in this region. Spring Valley, young, inexperienced in several spots on this team, especially at the quarterback position. They left the triple option to go to the spread this year, and they've yet to find a quarterback that can execute it. Irmo really hasn't demonstrated a great deal of improvement, but they're still young in Coach Aaron Brand's first season. He didn't get there till late spring, so the verdict's not out on them. They're going to get better. I don't think they're going to challenge for the top spot in this region, but not this season. But I think they're going to be better. I think they could be a playoff team. Lugoff Elgin, kind of a mystery. They played 2 solid weeks of football, and I'm going to be honest with you, they're a heck of a lot better than I thought they would be this year. I didn't think they'd win a region game. They could actually challenge Irmo and possibly get a region win. I don't think that there's either of the other 3 teams, Sumter, Blythewood, Spring Valley. I don't think that Lugoff Elgin will be able to challenge them. In Region 5, 5A, one thing I'm certain of is that Dutch Fork's the best team in this area, and they're also the best team in the state. They're not going to lose a game in state this year. I said it in the preseason, and I stand by that. Quarterback Ty Olenchuk playing wicked good football right now. This past week he threw for 212 yards on a touchdown in their win over Spring Valley, and their defense just shut out the Vikings. It's 46-0. Everyone in Region 5 right now is playing for second, and this is going to be your number 1 seed in the lower state playoffs. River Bluff is a team that I've got number 2 for right now, but they're loaded. But I'll be honest with you. The second spot's up for grabs. I think River Bluff, Lexington, or White Knoll could make a run at it. Jackson Stone, as I said earlier, has really made a big difference, stepping in when we thought that it was a disaster in week 1 when the quarterback went down. And he's done a really good job of bringing another dimension to the game. Lexington's 2-0. They got the second best defense in the region. I think that if their secondary was a little bit stronger, I think they'd possibly have the best defense in the region. They've only allowed 1 score in the first 2 games, and that's the kind of play that's going to help them win a couple of games that they maybe shouldn't win. Offensively, their running backs are small, but they run big. I mean, they run hard. They're always leaning forward, and the most important thing is they protect the ball. They haven't turned the ball over in their first 2 outings. They're getting better at the quarterback, but this offense lacks that single dynamic, game-changing playmaker anywhere on the field. They're going to have to get that if they're going to play deep in the playoffs. White Knoll's 2-0. Got a great win over Brooklyn Casey in week 1. They went to Colleton County this week. Colleton County, not a challenge at all. So it's not a very good measuring stick, but they did get a good win. And as I said earlier, Avion Smith had a great game in this game. Verdict's still out on Chapin. They've only played 1 game. It was against a team that they should have crushed, but instead it was a 35-20 ball game. They get a great offensive line. I'm a little concerned about the defense giving up 20 points to Mid-Carolina. Region 3 4A, down to the 4A classification. Westwood got back in the win column this week, 14-7 over Blythewood, as I said earlier. This team hasn't really showed me the explosive offense that I thought they were going to have. They had it last season. Amon Green, quarterback, was put up big numbers. I felt like with Matt Quinn coming in as a head coach, being the type of guy he is offensively, that they would be slinging it around the yard and putting up big numbers. They haven't done that yet. If they get on track with Green throwing the football, they're going to be very dangerous, and I really think they could challenge for this region crown. Ridgeview's struggling. They got a win this week over Wayne Hills, New Jersey. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how good Wayne Hills is, but they lost to Blythewood in week 1 and looked really bad on the offensive side of the football. They're starting a freshman quarterback, so that's understandable. It makes them a little shaky and a little suspect on offense. They're going to get better. He's going to get better. He's going to mature. But right now, I don't see them finishing higher than 3rd, maybe even 4th in this region. Richland Northeast, the other Midlands team in this region, they continue to struggle despite having an energetic and excited coach and trying to change the culture over there. But this is an uphill battle. But this program, with the attrition that goes on at that school year in and year out, they got a winnable game this week. We'll see how that goes, but I think this is a team that's going to be probably in the cellar of this region. The teams that are not Midlands team, the non-Midlands team that's the region, South Point, I've got them at number 1 in that region right now. I think Westwood is going to have to improve offensively to show me that they can compete with South Point for that top spot. Region 4 4A, AC Flora. I've talked about them for the last 2 weeks. They're way better than I anticipated them being back in spring. Matt Pack, he's probably the most underrated running back in the Midlands. And I think this defense could be the best in the Midlands. I think they're as good as Dutch Fork on defense. I think they certainly have the best defensive front in the Midlands, and I think that they're the best defense in the 4A classification in the Midlands. Everyone else in this region is struggling. Lower Richland appears to be the next best, but they got hammered by Carolina Forest this week, and that's understandable. Carolina Forest got a Division I quarterback and a solid football team, but I really felt like Lower Richland would show up better for that game. They even struggled in week 1 against Swansea, and Swansea's not a very good football team right now. So Lower Richland's going to have to struggle, tighten up their defense, or they're going to continue to struggle this season. Dreer's down, lost their starting quarterback in the season opener, season-ending injury, and they're struggling to move the ball on offense. I mean, they had a hard time at Lexington moving the chains at all. They have some success when they run the ball inside with their bigger running backs, but they're just very inconsistent in the passing game. The receivers, dropping balls that should be caught. Quarterback, making some reads that maybe could have been better. But, give him a pass on this. He's a sophomore quarterback and it's his first week as a starter. So, Crestwood and Lakewood, they're both in the same boat. They're young and experienced. I'm not sure either one of these teams are going to win a game other than the one they play against each other this year in region. Region 5 4A, Brooklyn Casey got a solid win over Airport. There's only two teams in the Midlands in this region, Brooklyn Casey and Airport. BC got them in their first game of the season. This one is not a region game. Their last game of the year will be the region game. Bearcats have got running back Will Way leading them on offense. They jumped up, on a lead with Airport before Airport mounted a comeback and made it a really close game. It's 35-22, and Airport just ran out of time. Airport played well in the preseason. I think that they obviously played well in week one. I think they've got two of the most dynamic offensive players in the Midlands, running back Bruce Staley and Nander Lawrence, a wide receiver. I think that both these kids have the ability to play on Saturdays. Region 4 3A. 3A classification in the Midlands is got some good teams. Camden Bulldogs, they're playing good football. I don't think they've been tested yet. They're 2-0, but they beat North Central in the first week. They beat Lugoff Elgin, who won their first game in over a year last week against Westwood. So I can't really say that either one of those teams are measuring stick, and that's not to take anything away from Camden. Camden's played well in both those games. Running back Willis Lane having a big season. As I said earlier, he's had back-to-back 200-yard games. The quarterback Jafari Patterson, he's showing that he's effective running the offense, but I think we still need to see a measuring stick for them. Fairfield Central 1-1. Honestly, they're not as good as I thought they were going to be. They haven't shown to be as good as I thought they were going to be this season. They run the ball well on offense, but defensively they're loose, and they're going to have to tighten that up if they're going to be any kind of playoff contender. Keenan, they got some youth in terms of experience. I saw this team, and they're very athletic. I mean, they've got athletes. They've got the ability and the caliber of players that they could be a playoff team. They're going to have to mature. And they can't make mistakes, but they got pounded by Irmo this past week, and they struggled against an Irmo offense that, quite frankly, hasn't moved the ball at all this year. Region 5, 3A. Gilbert Indians, listen, this is a high-octane offense. They put up 110 points in the first 2 weeks. Defense, however, has given up quite a few points. Gave up 48 against Gray in the first week and 35 against Batesburg-Leesville in week 2. And I don't know how good Batesburg-Leesville is yet. They're going to get that fixed, and they'll be fine by region play. But they got a big game this week. Lexington, I like the matchup because you get Gilbert with a high-powered offense going up against Lexington, who's got a pretty darn good defense. Swansea and Pillion, they're both down. Tigers lost a close one to Lower Richland in week 1, and they were absolutely annihilated this past week by Gray Collegiate. Pillion lost to Calhoun County, a game I thought they should have won, and they're going to need to generate some kind of offense if they're going to compete to get a playoff spot in this region, which is possible. I mean, you finish top 4, and you're going to get in. But I don't know if they can do that. I think Strom Thurmond's probably going to be, with Gilbert, the two favorites in this region. The third spot, I think, is going to be Swansea, and that leaves Edisto and Pillion to decide on that fourth spot. Region 2, in the 2A classification, Saluda and Batesburg-Leesville are both playing in Region 2 with the upstate teams. Saluta's off to a 2-0 start. They're very impressive. They're as good as I thought they'd be this year. Quarterback Noah Bell back, having a great season, through school record 6 touchdown passes this past week, and led them to an upset win over Strom Thurmond last week. Very impressive win. Batesburg-Leesville lost this past week to Gilbert, but I think I was more impressed with their loss this week than I was with their win in the first week. They put up 35 points on Gilbert, and quarterback Trey Robinson passed for more than 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think if they can continue to do that, this is a team that can compete in this region. Now, it's a tough region. You had Abbeville, who I think is got to be considered the top guy. Saluda behind them, but I think Batesburg-Leesville's right in that third spot, ahead of Silver Bluff 96 and Fox Creek. Region 3, 2A, the all Midlands region for 2A. Gray Collegiate, they're head and shoulders better than anybody else, the closest contender in this region. They're 1-1, lost a heartbreaker, as I mentioned, to Gilbert in week 1, but They bounced back huge with a 63-2 win over Swansea this week. Hunter Helms continues to shred secondaries, and this team's going to win this region. Calhoun County, they knocked off a Pillion team this past week to go 1-1 after losing OW in week 1. I don't know how good the Saints are. I don't know that we can use Pillion as a measuring stick for them. They're big up front. They got skills players on offense. I think right now they're clearly the second best in this region, but we'll just have to see how it plays off. Columbia's C.A. Johnson, Eau Claire, they're all struggling. Columbia's got some talent, but they just continue to make mistakes on offense, and they're very costly. C.A. Johnson, Eau Claire, they're both struggling with youth and inexperience and low participation numbers as well, and I think that they're gonna round out the bottom of this region with Gray, Calhoun County, Columbia, C.A. Johnson, Eau Claire in that order. Skeeza 3A, Hammond Skyhawks, they're a team to beat in Skeeza, all of Skeeza, and I don't see them losing any in-state games. I said that in the preseason. I think they win every in-state game. They're loaded at every position. They've got the caliber players on their team that, Division I prospects. I mean, we all know about Jordan Birch and Alex Huntley and Jackson Muschamp, a quarterback who's got an offer from Boston College, and I just think that they are a different level team to be playing in that Skeeza 3A. Cardinal Newman, a much improved football team. I think they can be a solid playoff team. Quarterback Jake Cowan has had 2 very good games and led them to win over Porter-Gaud this week, which I think was an upset. I think Porter-Gaud, a very good football program, and I think that that would have to be considered an upset and a quality win for Cardinal Newman. Ben Lippin, Heathwood Hall, they're going to play this week to see who the third best Skeeza team in the Midlands is. I like both these teams' quarterbacks. I think that they both got some underclassmen that are very good football players, and some that are going to play on Saturdays one day. I think sophomore Rondarius Porter for Heathwood Hall is the anchor on that defense. Ronnie Porter, running back, linebacker, he's also an impact player. And listen, Alex Lewis, quarterback, has played some good football this year. So I think he was 148 yards passing in the win this week over Wilson Hall. So standings for Skeeza 3A, and the way I think they're going to finish: Hammond, Cardinal Newman, Ben Lippin, and Heath. So we're going to go over the top 10 polls now, and the complete polls will be out Wednesday in the Football in the Midlands Week 3 issue. But I like to release the top 10 on Sundays, always have, and I'm going to go over that real quick. Dutch Fork, 1-0-1, with the tie to Mallard Creek in Week 1. They beat the brakes off of Spring Valley this past week, and they showed they really haven't missed a beat. This is a powerful team, and I just don't see them losing this year. They've got Irmo at Irmo this week, rival game, but I think it's going to be over as quickly as it starts, and Irmo's just going to have to look forward to the next week because they're not going to. I think the Dutch Fork's going to be too much for them. Sumter at number 2, 2-0. They beat Crestwood this past week. Not a test at all. They're going to play Conway this week, and again, I don't think Conway's going to be a test for them. I think Sumter will head into next week 3-0. River Bluff, 2-0. They beat Richland Northeast, very weak Richland Northeast team. Not a measuring stick at all. And in fact, I don't think River Bluff's actually had a measuring stick yet. I think Fort Mill's down this year, and that was their win in Week 1. But they are 2-0, and they've got a Pillion team this week that's going to allow them to be 3-0 after this week. Lexington, number 4. They beat Dreher 41-0 this past week to go 2-0. They're at Gilbert this week. 2 unbeaten teams. A good matchup, as I said earlier. A powerful offense for Gilbert against a very, very staunch defense for Lexington. White Knoll 2-0, beat Colleton County. They've got Keenan this week. I don't think they'll be challenged. I think White Knoll will go to 3-0. AC Florida, as I said earlier in the broadcast, they got a 3-0 after beating Union County this week. 2-0, beating Union County this week. Very solid win, a quality win. And this week they're going to move to 3-0 as they travel to Columbia. Saluda 2-0. They beat Ridge Spring Minetta. This week they're at Mid Carolina, and I think they move on to 3-0 as well. Camden is 2-0. They beat Lugoff Elgin. This week is a challenge. They're at Hartsville. I think this Hartsville team is a very good football team. I don't think this is the strongest team that Jeff Calabrese has had. They did not overpower South Florence last week like I thought they would. They did win. They beat them 16-13, but this is going to be a good game. I think this certainly is the first test that Camden has faced this season. Don't know if they can pull this out. I think I like Hartsville in this game. Brooklyn Casey, 1-1. They beat Airport in a close game this past week. In week 1, they lost to White Knoll in another close game. They got Spring Valley this week at home. I don't know that Spring Valley is ready offensively to play against Brooklyn Casey. Brooklyn Casey, very physical football team. They're good on defense. Spring Valley, two things that concern me. One, they haven't found a quarterback yet to execute that offense. Two, they make some mistakes. They made some mistakes against Irmo, putting the ball on the ground, penalties. And you just can ill afford those things when you're playing against a good football team. Gilbert at number 10, 2-0. They beat Batesburg-Leesville. I'm going to have to say it's a quality win. I think Batesburg-Leesville is a good football team. And as I mentioned, they're hosting Lexington, and I'm looking forward to that game. That's it for week 2 of the Sunday Drive. Thank you for joining me. This show is brought to you by Pac-Men Contracting LLC, a veteran-owned company, licensed, bonded, and insured. Call Pac-Men Contracting LLC for all your roofing and construction needs. Roofing, builds, remods, and additions. Check them out, www.pacmenllc.com. I'm Jim Baxter, SCVARSITY.COM. Checking out.